Hey y'all, back with another desk video. And I just wanted to record a video today because I sort of love this and I'm trying not to worry about what I have to say or how I'm gonna say it. I just have been inspired recently by some YouTubers who they just make stuff and press publish, figure it all out along the way. So here I am. So the first thing I want to talk about today is this fascinating, incredible book called Earthlings. I'm a member of Anna Wallace Johnson's book club, one of my favorite booktubers. This is the October read. This book is fantastic. The reviews online, 3.8, 3.9, 4 lower reviews because heavy themes, child abuse, sexual assault, cannibalism. I mean, really heavy stuff. And I think that people's lower reviews are because maybe people just don't want to read those things. But I think this book is brilliant. I love it when authors take risks, take chances. I've never read anything like this before. And it was executed well. And despite the heavy themes of child abuse and sexual assault, cannibalism, I thought it was in good taste. It didn't sort of glorify those terrible things. All right, so here's the premise. By the way, I don't care about spoilers. If spoilers are your thing, maybe this isn't the video for you. I watch videos with spoilers all the time. I don't care. But if you've read it or you don't care, follow along. So this 11-year-old girl thinks she's from a different planet. The planet is called Popinpobapia. The reason is because she's created this other world in her mind as a coping mechanism for child abuse by her mother and sexual assault by a teacher at school. Sometimes her family goes to the mountains. They do it once a year. When she's there, she sees her cousin. She only gets to see her cousin once a year. Well, her cousin also feels like he's from a different planet. So they bond really closely and they end up having sex. I know, that's crazy, right? So fast forward, the first half of the book is when she's 11. The second half of the book is when she's in her 30s. So fast forward to her 30s. She's married, a random person who's asexual. He doesn't want to have sex with her. She doesn't want to have sex with him because they both have had terrible experiences in their youth. The book is also about these societal expectations, especially for women, to just produce babies. Like, that's the point. And her husband feels the societal expectations to have a family and do the expected things. And what ends up happening is they find themselves back in the mountains. She hadn't seen her cousin, the person that she was with when she was 11, for all of this time. Because once the family found out about that incident when they were young, they separated them and never let them be in the same room or never let them even talk to each other. But through a series of events, the main character and her husband find themselves back in the mountains when they're adults. And by the end of the story, they're eating each other, like cannibals. I don't know, it's not like murder, we're gonna murder you and then eat you. It's something completely different. And it's that act that makes them fully feel like they've realized themselves as aliens from Popinpobapia. I know it sounds insane, and guess what? It is insane. But I thought it was, for such a crazy story, I thought it was executed so well. Part of that is I've been reading more translated works recently, and when you first start reading this, you're like, the prose is a little stilted, a little sort of it doesn't really flow. And then it occurred to me halfway through the book, and certainly by the time I finished, I was like, I bet you, I don't know for sure, but I bet you this was an intentional decision by the author and by the translator. Because if the main character feels like they're from a different planet, it would make sense that the language was sort of stilted, because I was captivated by the story. There's a certain page-turning element to this book, but the the conversation, the dialogue between characters, especially with the main character, is sort of, I don't know, stunted, what's the right word? Clunky. And I think it was on purpose. I think it was on purpose. I don't know for sure, but if it was on purpose, it's brilliant because it makes, yeah, it's like, oh yeah, she is maybe from a different planet. And by the way, there's nothing really fantastical about this, but the author doesn't really wrap up whether or not they are from a different planet. By the end of the book, you're like, maybe they are from a different planet. I highly recommend it. It's a relatively quick read. If you like books that are a little wild or a little like, I've never read anything like that before, you'll love that. I think you'll love this book. What's next? Roadside Picnic. So, given that it's the month of October, I was looking for some spooky stuff, some weird stuff, right? Hence, Earthlings. Made perfect sense. Roadside Picnic came up. This was originally published a long time ago, 1972. And apparently there were issues with the translation. It's been re-released in 2012. The foreword is by Ursula K. Le Guin. And I'm about halfway through it, and I wanted to talk about it. I am mid on it. So the premise is fascinating. The premise is these aliens have come to Earth in certain zones across the planet, and then they left. And humans can't really go into those zones. They can, but the zones are incredibly dangerous. There's random traps, but there's also like technology that the aliens left that when the humans go in and retrieve the technology, like, you know, they want the technology, but there's also all kinds of dangerous stuff. Lots of people have died. Well, the main character is what's called a stalker, which is a person who's not allowed to go into the zone, but they do anyway, and then they sell the swag on the black market. So we open up with the aliens having already left, and we open up in a particular town in Russia. I think it's Russia, somewhere very far away, Eastern Europe. And this stalker also works for like a legit company that's allowed to go in to the zone. So we open up with this stalker and his boss and one more person going into the zone, and you're dropped sort of right into the action, and it's like, yes, all right, yeah, let's find out what these aliens left, let's go. And then the book starts to just die off after that, and it bums me out. There's just a lot of talking about the zone now, a lot of talking, and you get moving around the city and who's doing what and what, who, no. I just sort of like, come on, go back into the zone. That's the point. The point is that place. I'm hoping that the last, I got what, 70 pages left, picks up. The reviews online are really, really good. So I'm assuming it picks up, but I'm sort of just like, okay, go back into the zone, man. That's the point. They have something called hell slime, which if you get it on you, your like bones start to sort of become rubber. Like you don't die, but you have to amputate whatever limb it is. There's all sorts of different kinds of technology. There are these things called empties, which are two discs, and you can't push them together or pull them apart, but there's nothing in between. There's cool stuff. You're like, yeah, let's go back into the zone. No, there's a lot of talking about the zone and a lot of like, just, I don't know, wandering around the city, not going into the zone. Go into the zone, man. Okay, so I'm a maybe on this so far. I also want to talk about these oblique strategies that I got by Brian Eno, Peter Schmidt. They're just a deck of cards. Okay, and they're oblique because they're unconventional strategies, right? This one says, use an old idea. Can't see it, whatever. This one says, look closely at the most embarrassing details and amplify them. And there's just all kinds of different ideas. Use an unacceptable color. which frame would make this look right? And I think they just stimulate random, unconventional ways of thinking about creativity. This is a terrible sentence. So today's card, you see that? Disconnect from desire. Disconnect from desire. Well, we all have desire in this capitalist society. I desire all kinds of things. But since I have kids, the thing I desire most is to one day give them a house. I live in an apartment and we do fine. We're able to pay our bills and put a little bit of money away for our children each month. But being able to monetize a content creation thing would be amazing. But I'm letting go of my desire today, pressing record, and I'm gonna press publish, and we're just gonna go for it. So, letting go of my desire, and instead, just wanna be genuine, if I can, just be warm, just be like, hey, here's a thing I think is cool. Here's some stuff I wanna talk about that I think is cool. This isn't going as well as I'd hoped. Oh, I got a hologram, so I make music. First half of my life was like music. Everything was music. And the majority of my money in music was made from like playing, and I still do play music for weddings. Although that's ending soon, but it's been a great source of income. But when you have kids, it's like, for me, it's like more of a side hustle. I have to be away on the weekends, which isn't cool. My son is starting soccer. I want to be here for that. And so, but I got a hologram microcosm. Check it out. Terrible lighting. Check out my terrible lighting. Anyway, if you don't know what that is, the hologram microcosm, it's a pedal that just makes anything you put into it glitchy and weird and reverb-y or delay or like different loops and phrases and whatever. It's awesome. I've never owned a guitar pedal. I'm a keyboard player. So here's one of the things I've been working on. So take my Korg Volca, put it through the hologram, and then I also have an SP404. So getting new stuff and learning new stuff is really hard, but I don't know. I'm filled with so much joy when I'm here making music. And this isn't traditionally the music I've made, although I love hip hop and I've done the beat making stuff in the past. I wanted a little setup with no computer. So, right, computer's over here. And then I have this little like setup here. God, the lighting, sorry. So that I can activate just a different side of my brain, you know what I mean? Sorry, it's just like maybe too loud. What else? Hey. All right now, hey, come on, give me some. That's the next part. So that's what I'm working on, a little microcosm action. My daughter, that's where she stays. But yeah, I've decided to put some stuff up in my room, slowly like making this room. There was a period of time where this room was just like such a bummer. Now before my daughter was born, this was sort of my haven. And then we changed it all when my daughter was born. And now I'm going back to like, she plays upstairs and she plays in the other room. She doesn't really play in here. So my wife and I were like, oh, you can make it back into your little haven again. Right, so I did my little little bookshelf and put some stuff up, right? It's a picture of Southeast Asia right there, where I traveled. And look, check out some of these pictures. So I'm just like a hobbyist photographer, but I really like this picture that I took. I'm proud of it. And I can't remember where I got these, but they're like real, like hard, like cardboard, almost cardboard. And you know, I've taken some cool shots before, and I just want to start putting up some of my pictures. Also, there's been a lot of cool pictures of the kids, so I'm gonna start putting those up. So anyway, be creative, be yourself, press record, press publish. This I give to you.